What's up with it, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Raider Honcho, and I'm back with a brand new video for you. Alright guys, get right into it. You already should know the vibes. You already should know what type of time I'm on. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, well damn, subscribe to the channel. Hit me up on Instagram and Twitter, both at Raider Honcho. And don't forget to check out RaiderHoncho.com and make sure you hit them likes. So, we saw Josh Jacobs yesterday doing what he does. Complete beast mode, complete dog that he is, rushing for over 140 yards, 3 touchdowns on a day, helping the Raiders secure the bag, getting a victory, a much-needed victory against the Texans because, damn, it was looking a little dicey in the early parts of that game. I didn't like what I was seeing in the first half. Second half, things got turned around. But I want to take the time to talk about Josh Jacobs. Now, Josh Jacobs is somebody I always supported. I always felt like Josh Jacobs was a dog. Just the way he plays, the way he's played through injuries. And, of course, everybody's had their concerns about him with the injuries and can he sustain 17 games? Can he play to that level for a whole season and whatnot? Obviously, the fifth-year option wasn't picked up on Josh Jacobs when it came to Ziegler and McDaniels, but there's something a little different about Josh Jacobs this time around. There's something a little different about what's going on there in Las Vegas, especially at the running back position. And I know everybody thought Josh Jacobs on the way out when you think about drafting 2 running backs, when you think about Josh Jacobs was starting in the Hall of Fame game at the beginning of the season. That's just not a good look for somebody you feel like is going to be your franchise running back, somebody you're going to give the workload to. And a lot of people thought that meant bad things for Josh Jacobs. But I will tell you, Josh Jacobs has been very impressive thus far this season. Josh Jacobs has been carrying the Raiders offense thus far this season with a little help from other people, of course. But the main thing that's different about Josh Jacobs is, well, let's just get to some of the things Josh Jacobs was saying in his press conference, and then we'll close it out with what I think is the biggest difference with Josh Jacobs. Now, yesterday, Josh Jacobs did the interview, did his press conference after the game, and he, of course, the first thing he talks about is the offensive line, shouting out the offensive line, talking about he loves that even though the offensive line might get beat on a few plays, the way they come back, the way they work, the way they try to grind out and just improve. And he says that he likes the fire they have every play, the enthusiasm they have when Josh Jacobs has a good run, the way they're cheering for him, the way they're rooting for him, the way they work together as a unit. I think that bodes well for what the Raiders are trying to do. It's a young offensive line. Of course, they're going to have their struggles, but at the end of the day, the offensive line has been giving Josh Jacobs pretty good running lanes, and he even said that. He said that it's good for the first time in his career to be able to get 3-4 yards without even getting touched, and it allows him to get to the second level and allows him to kind of do what he wants to do once he's in open space, right? He wasn't always getting that in the past, and right now he's averaging almost 6 yards a clip. So you got to give the offensive line credit there. He also talks about the fact that this offseason was a little different for him. Not saying he didn't work in those other offseasons. Sometimes he said he's overworked in those other offseasons. But just the fact that now going into these different years, he's starting to know his body. Starting to have that experience with himself and knowing what his body needs and what his body doesn't need to get himself prepared for games, to get himself in shape for the season. He even talks a little bit about spending more time watching film and spending time on the details of things, okay? Like, even when he's having a good game, he has individual sessions with his running back coach working on fine-tuning those things and taking that time and recognizing formations, he says, seeing where the escape plan can be, the escape routes are going to be. In certain formations, he knows that in certain looks he's getting that, okay, if this goes sideways, I know where I can escape to. I know where I can get to and still be able to get yards, still make a positive gain on this. And I think that's very important for running backs. And that's something you probably overlook as young running backs. You're like, I'm fast. I can do this. I can break tackles. But what you don't realize in the NFL is everybody can do those things. So the things that separate success and failures is a very thin line. There's a very thin line that separates a 2-yard gain and a 3-yard loss. It's a very thin line. I think now as he's getting older, he's starting to see those things and spending more time on the details, spending more time watching film, spending more time taking care of his body. And I think not getting his 5th-year option, I think that's kind of lit a fire on him as well and kind of put him in a situation where it's time to show and prove. And I think that's the natural comfort level and comfort area for Josh Jacobs. You think about his past, sleeping in the car, father grinding for everything they got, taking care of that family. I think he's comfortable in a show and prove mentality, a show and prove atmosphere. I think this climate is very comfortable for Josh Jacobs, right? So when you talk about the hidden message of everything he's saying, reading between the lines, the biggest difference for me and Josh Jacobs is maturity. Josh Jacobs seems very mature to this point in his career, very mature in this point of the season, very mature within himself. The maturation process taking place when you're talking about the situation with the car accident a little while ago, a few years back. You talk about having Henry Ruggs in there in that situation, having John Gruden in there, it just seems like Josh Jacobs wasn't always the mature guy in the room. And right now, based on everything he's saying, based on how he's responded to things, based on how he's playing, he just seems very mature at this point. I think that's the biggest difference between Josh Jacobs now and Josh Jacobs then. And that is why I'm completely sold on Josh Jacobs. I think you should be completely sold on Josh Jacobs. The Raiders organization should be completely sold on Josh Jacobs and give this man what he deserves. I'm not saying give him what he doesn't deserve, just give him what he deserves as far as the contract goes. And I think that's what should be done. I want you to get down in the comments and let me know what you think about Josh Jacobs. Are you sold? Because I am. I'm sold. I've been sold. I know a lot of people think he's not fast enough, not big enough, not tough enough. I don't care. He's a dog. He can play on my team any day of the week. All right? That's just what it is. So get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you like the video, like the video. If you like the content on this channel, subscribe to the channel. Hit me up on Instagram and Twitter, both at Raider Honcho. And until next time, as always, Raider Honcho out.